This story begins with a man named Kevin who is on vacation with his family. They arrive at a tourist destination filled with beautiful islands and clean beaches where many visitors are enjoying themselves. Kevin's plan is to spend quality time with his wife, Sarah, and their son. He had already planned to rent a boat and explore the islands together. Sarah is especially happy because it had been a long time since they last took a vacation. Kevin works as a doctor and is usually very busy with his professional life, so this trip gives them a chance to forget about work and relax as a family. Later in the afternoon, Kevin takes his wife and son to the beach so they can rent a boat and go out on the water. However, when he speaks to a man at the shore, he discovers that all the boats have already been rented out. There isn't a single one left available. Kevin keeps requesting, even offering to pay extra money. Finally, the man tells him about another person who owns a private motorboat and sometimes rents it out to tourists. Kevin really wanted a boat for his family, so he went to meet the man he had been told about. He asked if he could rent the boat, but the man hesitated for a while, unsure if he should give it to him. Kevin explained that he was there with his family and that they simply wanted to explore the area together. After a lot of convincing, the man finally agreed and accepted the payment. Kevin even tried to provide his ID card, but the man refused and said, "I trust you. There's no need for any ID." That response made Kevin a little suspicious, but it was already getting late, so he didn't think much about it. He took the motorboat and headed out into the water with his wife and son. The family was having an amazing time, especially Sarah. She rarely got chances like this because Kevin was usually busy with work. Sarah loved beaches, islands, and adventurous activities, so she was enjoying every moment. After some time, Kevin noticed a small island nearby and became curious. He insisted that they should at least explore it once. He convinced Sarah, then turned the boat toward the island. Within minutes, they arrived at the shore. The island was beautiful. Not very large, but absolutely perfect. The three of them stepped off the boat and started exploring the area. But the island was completely deserted. There were no animals, no people, and no signs that anyone ever came there. After exploring for a while, Sarah and their son suggested going back. Kevin sat inside the boat and tried to start the engine, but suddenly they realized the engine was completely stuck. No matter how many times he pulled the chain, it wouldn't start. Kevin immediately became worried. With no other option, they spent the night there as safely as they could. The next morning, Sarah woke up with her son and saw that Kevin was still trying to fix the boat engine. They hadn't brought enough supplies with them, and being trapped on a deserted island could easily become a death sentence. Then suddenly, they heard a sound in the distance. A tourist boat was passing nearby. Kevin instantly jumped into the water and started screaming for help as loudly as he could. But obviously, the people on the boat couldn't hear him. Within moments, the boat disappeared into the distance, leaving Kevin completely hopeless. Still, Kevin tried to stay positive in front of his family. He told Sarah and his son that this was probably a tourist route and more boats would eventually pass by. He believed that once someone noticed them, they would definitely be rescued, but their luck was terrible. After that one boat, no other boats came by at all. Soon another night arrived, and once again, they were forced to sleep on the beach. Before they realized it, 2 entire days had passed on that unknown island. The three of them were trapped in what felt like an inescapable nightmare. Even after all that time, nobody had come to help them. Sarah slowly began to lose hope and feared that they were going to die there. Kevin tried to comfort her, promising that they would find a way out. But deep down, even he knew that rescue might never come. Their son's condition also started getting worse, and Kevin knew they couldn't stay there any longer. Since the engine still wouldn't work, he tried pushing the boat into the water manually. He placed his wife and son inside while he used a single paddle to move the boat forward. It looked simple from the outside, but Kevin was struggling with every ounce of strength he had. His entire body was in pain, and exhaustion was slowly taking over him. Kevin had no strength left in his body. Even so, he kept trying for a while before finally lying down beside his family. He repeatedly checked to make sure his wife and son were still alive. Thankfully, they were still breathing, but nobody knew how much longer they could survive like this. At this point, Kevin was almost ready to give up, but suddenly he heard a sound in the distance. A fisherman's boat was passing nearby. Kevin immediately started shouting for help as loudly as he could. He screamed until he completely exhausted himself and eventually passed out. Fortunately, the fishermen on the distant boat finally noticed them. They quickly traveled toward the stranded family and soon reached them. There were actually 2 fishermen on the boat, and they rescued Kevin and his family, bringing them safely onto their boat. Kevin explained everything to them. He told them he was a doctor who had come on vacation with his family, but they accidentally got trapped on the island after their boat engine broke down. The moment one of the fishermen heard that Kevin was a doctor, greed entered his mind. He began blackmailing Kevin, saying that he also deserved to profit from the situation. Desperate to save his family, Kevin promised that if they rescued them, he would pay them a large amount of money, but the fisherman had become extremely greedy. He grabbed Kevin's wife and child and separated them from him. Then he made a shocking demand. He wanted $1 million. The problem was that Kevin didn't even have that kind of money. Panicking, Kevin begged the man to let his family go, but the fisherman knew he had complete control. He was the only one who knew the way back, and his boat was their only hope of escape. The fisherman coldly told Kevin that he should call his relatives and friends for help. After thinking about his family's safety, Kevin finally agreed and promised to arrange the money. The moment the fisherman heard that, he smiled with satisfaction. Then, without warning, he grabbed a paddle and struck Kevin directly in the face. Sometime later, Kevin regained consciousness and realized he was on the fisherman's boat. The man was taking him somewhere far away. Kevin quickly looked around, but his wife and son were nowhere to be seen. That's when the fisherman revealed the horrifying truth. He had left Kevin's family on another island. The fisherman feared that once Kevin returned to the city, he might inform the police about where his family was being held. So Kevin was forced to obey every single order the fisherman gave him. Desperate and helpless, Kevin began calling every relative and friend he knew. He begged everyone for money, almost like a man pleading for his life. After countless calls, he somehow managed to collect the massive amount. Kevin then demanded that the fisherman return his family, but the fisherman instructed him to transfer all the money into a fake bank account. Kevin went to the bank and completed the transfer. Now the fisherman had received the money, and according to the deal, he was supposed to return Kevin's family. The fisherman then took Kevin onto another boat and told him to follow closely behind. As soon as Kevin stepped inside the motorboat's cabin to check something, the fisherman suddenly locked the door from the outside. It was a complete betrayal. Even after fulfilling every condition, Kevin had been trapped once again. Still, Kevin continued following the fisherman's boat across the open water. After traveling for quite some time, they finally reached the middle of the ocean, far away from both the city and the islands. That's when the fisherman suddenly stopped the boat. The fisherman signaled Kevin to bring his boat closer. He told him, "Come near my boat. I'll open your door and tell you where your family is." For the first time in a while, Kevin felt hopeful that he might finally reunite with his wife and son. Slowly, he moved his boat toward the fisherman. But the moment Kevin got close enough, the fisherman suddenly grabbed a metal spear and stabbed straight through the boat, damaging it badly so water would start rushing inside. The fisherman didn't want to take any risk by leaving Kevin alive. He knew that once Kevin found his family, he would definitely go to the police. Kevin was moments away from dying. Fortunately, Kevin had been sitting near the upper part of the boat with his head above water, which gave him a little more time to survive. The fisherman assumed Kevin was already dead, so he abandoned the scene and disappeared into the distance. Kevin now faced another terrifying problem. If he couldn't escape from the damaged boat, it would completely fill with water and sink, taking him down with it. But luck was finally on his side. As soon as Kevin managed to get out of the sinking boat and stay afloat in the water, a tourist ship happened to pass nearby. The tourists spotted him immediately and rushed to rescue him. They quickly brought Kevin back to the harbor. Once there, Kevin reported everything to the coastal guards and officers. He explained how the two fishermen had blackmailed him, stolen a huge amount of money from him, and hidden his wife and son on an unknown island whose location they never revealed. However, the rescue team couldn't begin searching immediately because it was already too dark. They would have to wait until morning. Finding Kevin's family was also extremely difficult because the area was surrounded by countless islands. Searching every island would take a lot of time. Kevin became terrified because he knew his family didn't have much time left. He feared they wouldn't survive long enough. Meanwhile, a senior officer took charge of the case. But strangely, the officer didn't fully trust Kevin's story. In fact, he started suspecting Kevin himself. The officer believed Kevin might have intentionally abandoned his family on the island and was falsely accusing the fisherman in order to claim insurance money. Kevin desperately tried to explain that none of that was true. He genuinely wanted to save his family. Still, the officer only told him that the search would begin the next morning. Completely helpless, Kevin sat there thinking about his family. After realizing nobody truly believed him, he finally decided to investigate on his own. He quickly went to a cafe and gathered maps of all the islands in the area. He carefully studied every possible location where his family could be trapped. But even after examining all the maps, Kevin couldn't figure anything out. Anyone would get confused with so many islands surrounding the region. Then suddenly, Kevin noticed something important. He saw a similar type of injury mark on a driver's hand, the same kind of wound one of the fishermen had. Kevin immediately asked him, "Where did you get that injury?" The driver explained that it happened while catching a stingray fish. Kevin became suspicious and asked where he got it treated. The driver replied that there was only one hospital in the entire area capable of treating injuries like that. At that moment, Kevin realized that the fisherman had probably gone to that same hospital as well. Without wasting any time, Kevin got the hospital's address and headed there immediately. To avoid suspicion, he intentionally injured his own hand before entering the hospital. Kevin went to a doctor to get treatment for his injured hand. During their conversation, he explained his entire situation, how some fishermen had kidnapped his family, and how he was desperately trying to find them. Kevin then asked the female doctor for help. He requested access to the records of some recent patients who had visited the hospital. At first, the doctor refused because the information was confidential, but after hearing Kevin's heartbreaking story, she felt sympathy for him and finally agreed to help. She showed him the recent patient records. Kevin carefully checked through the files, but there were no photographs attached, only details like age, height, and physical descriptions. Meanwhile, Kevin later confronted one of the fishermen and fought back, injuring him before escaping the area. Kevin was still trying to find a way out and uncover the truth. Since every fisherman's boat had a registration number, he went to a nearby boat registration office where all all the records were stored. He searched through the information, hoping to identify the fisherman. Unfortunately, he still couldn't find anything useful. The only thing on Kevin's mind now was the second fisherman, a man named Jack. Kevin believed that if he could find Jack, he might finally learn which island his family had been abandoned on. But in such a huge area, Kevin had no idea where to begin searching for him. After hours of searching, Kevin sat hopelessly near the shore, completely exhausted. Then he noticed a man nearby talking on the phone. At that exact moment, Kevin got an idea. He immediately contacted the local embassy for help. Eventually, Kevin finally managed to reach his family. He desperately tried to wake his wife, Sarah. She could barely open her eyes, but Kevin felt relieved knowing she was still alive. After being stranded for so many days without food or water, surviving at all seemed impossible. But then Kevin realized something horrifying. His son wasn't breathing. Panicking, Kevin immediately started performing CPR on him. He even gave him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, desperately trying to bring his son back to life.